Welcome to Just the Who of Us, hosted by Reah Higgs. This is a space for honest, thoughtful conversations around mental health, life journeys, holistic wellnesses, and the experiences that shape who we are. Take a breath, settle in, and join Reah and today's guests as we explore the stories that connect us.
Welcome back. And today with us, we have Kristan. Kristan is the founder of Feel Good People. And today we are going to talk a little bit about our nervous systems, um, shifting roles, accepting worthy partners, and turning 40. So, as we know, our nervous system impacts a lot of not only our day to day, but how we navigate through certain relationships, how we navigate through certain changes. And Kristen is here today to help us gain a little more education on that topic. So, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Same. So first I want to talk a little bit about we're going to talk about feel good people, but I want to get a little personal first, of course. So in our private discussion, we realized that we both recently turned 40, and it's a overwhelming but also kind of fun journey at the same time. Um, Obviously overwhelming because we as women go through a lot of changes, even leading up to turning 40. I discovered that I started perimenopause probably late 30s, maybe like 37 or so, even, which is, I think, kind of young. When we think menopause, naturally, we think, oh, 50. We go through menopause at 50. Um, but there are a lot of years leading up to menopause in particular that our body is going through perimenopause. We're coming to either kind of the end of having children, or some people are still having children. But our bodies go through a lot. And already being impacted by these natural changes, having a regulated or unregulated nervous system can deeply impact those changes as well. Um, so, tell us a little bit about feel good people, as it is related to our nervous system. I want to spend a little time talking about vibration therapy, which is something that, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Um, which is a technique that you use to help regulate the nervous system. Um,
Yeah. Do you want me to kind of start with that?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you touched on a lot of things that I personally can relate to, especially, as you mentioned, we both turned 40 this year. And I don't think that I really understood or even was really interested in learning about what was happening to me on like a biological level until probably I was about like 35. And even before that, it was just not what I was thinking about. And I was just living life, trying to build a career, trying to find a husband, like all the things that you do in your 20s, go
Yep.
out, have fun, and you think that you are, you're just going through the checklist of life and you're trying to get all the things done that, you were kind of told, hey, these are the things that are going to make you happy.
Right.
And I, started going through that list, and I got the corporate job, and I worked my way to get the title and the pay. And then, I met my partner and we had a child, and, I did all the things, and I just woke up one day and I was like, why do I feel so terrible? Why do I feel so disconnected from my body? And I, was eating healthy. I mean, that's always something I have to work on. I'm a big stress eater. So,
Same.
I lean into sugar when I'm stressed out, but for the most part, I'm really interested in healthy eating and healthy habits and, you know, um, working out and doing all that stuff. But I wasn't really focused on stress management. And I realized that I was, yeah, I'm doing all the healthy kind of modern day things that we're supposed to do, but I wasn't really focused on stress management in my nervous system. And that was really the leading cause of why I just wasn't feeling good in my body. I was having really bad anxiety and panic attacks, and I was just completely dysregulated. So I went on a journey of really uncovering what are the tactics that I need to implement into my life to create more capacity for my nervous system to manage stress, to handle stress. Having a job is stressful, having children is stressful, going out to the grocery store and dealing with the public, like people, can be really stressful. So, and I think if you just add on the fact that like we now have so much access to information and people can, whether it's advertisements or people we know can just constantly be coming at us with information, it's really dysregulating.
Yeah.
So, and then you add in, turning 40 and going through, as you mentioned, perimenopause and the hormonal changes and all those types of things that are coming at us constantly. I think it just gets more and more and more important that we learn how to manage stress and we learn how to protect our nervous system and regulate it. And so that's kind of been like my journey with understanding where nervous system regulation and stress management had played a role in my life. And then I can get into, how I discovered vibration therapy and established feel good people. But I mean, really, it came out of that sort of personal journey of just being kind of tired of feeling sick and tired, I
Right.
guess.
Right. Well, and as women specifically, we have kind of these societal expectations, which you kind of mentioned. There is a societal expectation of us, for the most part, to do these things in this order. And, if you don't meet those societal expectations, you can be made to feel like you're falling behind. I'm not meeting these deadlines that the world is saying that I'm supposed to meet. Or you have to kind of defend yourself a little bit. Well, I don't want to have children. I waited to have children because of this, or I'm not married yet because of blah, blah, blah. Um, it's there's a certain generation of my family who believed you had to be married, you know, and have kids. And then there's a lot of people in my family who don't have kids, which I think is fabulous because it's something I taught all my kids. You don't have to reproduce if you don't want to, like there's enough people. It's okay.
Yeah.
Them all. But it's those societal expectations that are typically placed more on women because we are the birth givers, right? So we're the ones who, and I know men go through it too, but it's more of a societal expectation for women when it comes to children and marriage. Um, I've seen differently where men are kind of like, oh, like he's not married, he's just a player. Like it's cool for him to
Mhm.
still do what he did as a teenager because that's just his personality or whatever. But if a woman, then she has issues. So,
Right, right. The double standard is real.
yeah, yeah. But two things kind of when you haven't worked through your trauma, as we know, you pass it on to your children, right? So now we enter generational traumas that don't stop until someone realizes, like, oh, hey, this is a pattern in my family, and I should maybe be the one to do better. Which typically happens about the third generation. Third generation is usually the generation that's like, oh, this happened with my mom, it happened with my grandmother, it's happening with me, for myself included. There's certain things that um, are kind of like, oh, this is not a good thing now that I understand it.
Yeah, you recognize the pattern.
And I might want to be the one to stop it. You
Mhm.
know? Um, so it kind of goes into like you said, we spend so much time sometimes focusing on the things that we're supposed to get accomplished that we don't focus on the things that need to be healed before we do accomplish these societal expectations of accomplishments, right?
Right, right. No, I think that's such a important part of the whole journey is, and I don't know if this is unique to our generation. It could be, but because I've noticed this so much lately with other women that are in a similar time of life
Mhm.
where we are really saying, I don't want to let life happen to me like it might have happened to, my mother, my mother's mother. And I mean, they were doing their best, right? Like they
Right.
were all growing up in a time where that's just what women did. And I think, our generation witnessed a lot of mothers who probably had um, unfulfilled dreams or unfulfilled or they put a lot of their emphasis on life in the home, in the family, and the children. And the interesting thing is that I think our generation is sometimes even struggling with, we want that, and we also want to have a career or businesses, or we want to be like the every woman.
Right, right.
So it's almost kind of like we've evolved to be able to have and want more, but we also still sometimes want like that. And so yes, I'm like almost like, if you can let go of one, you might almost be it's almost, I think, somewhat easier on you to a degree.
Yeah.
The women, those of us women who are like, no, I actually want both, that are maybe struggling. Because my friends who are like, I just want to stay home and take care of my kids, I'm like, good for you. Like sometimes I'm like, I wish I could have just done one or the other, because both
Right.
are a lot of work. They're a lot
Yeah.
of work. And we talk about, we in our previous conversation, we were talking about some of that trauma of like, why, like, what is it about us women who are these, like, I'm gonna almost say like overperformer or like productivity focused or do it all, have it all. Like, why
Yeah.
are we like that? Like, why? I don't know, and
Yeah.
what I've learned about the nervous system is that a lot of that can be traced back to like what was happening in your life as a child, and like how did you respond to that to feel safe? And for
Yeah.
me, it was, I'm gonna be fiercely independent. I'm going to do everything myself. I'm going to try to control my future, my destiny. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like I've been able to, create an environment for myself where, I do feel autonomous in so many ways. And I do feel like I can take care of myself and protect myself. And I think that's a good thing, because I have seen situations with my mother and my grandmother where they didn't have that as an option, and they were really sort of trapped in a relationship or in an unhealthy dynamic. And so when I saw that, I was like, I can't have that.
Right.
But it created this sort of inability for me to sit with myself, to be still, to accept like that I've done enough, and to say like, I did enough today, I don't need to do more. And I still really struggle with that, because my brain is like, no, like, let's do more, let's be more, let's have more, let's make more. It's like, it's more and more and more like mental chatter.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting because the conversation we had, like, we have so much in common, even on certain things where like the details are not exact, but the things that we've experienced in life, like the kind of journey that we've had is similar in ways. And one of those being, taking that, like, what we learned from our moms. And obviously not to say like, oh, like everything's my mom's fault, blah blah blah,
But
not to
it is,
do
no, I'm
that,
kidding.
but like, our mothers are the people that we grow up emulating, right? Like, I'm a mother, my mother was a mother, my grandma was, so those are my influences. Um, but my mother and grandmother were both single mothers. And they got married, they got divorced, and they were single mothers. And I had the same journey until I got remarried. And you go through this kind of space in between where, well, we should anyway, right? Not everybody does, but generally you go through the space in between where you take that between that divorce and that marriage to work on yourself and grow. And it's usually, I want to say it typically happens when we're like in our 20s to 30s. Those of us who get young, who those of us who get married young, you've seen these marriages fail, you try it, and then it doesn't work out. But here you are in your late 20s to 30s and sometimes even 40s, starting over again. And at this point in life, we're old enough where we have learned certain things and we have the ability to say, okay, what happened here? Not even realizing that we're not only taken from our failed marriage, but our parents, our grandparents, whatever. And what should I stop implementing? What's this pattern here that I should stop implementing? And what should I take in my next relationship? If there is a next relationship, because some people don't get remarried, and that's perfectly fine too. Um, you know, but then there's also this complexity of when you have children involved. And it almost gives you kind of more of a responsibility to grow as a person because now I've not only experienced this quote unquote failed, marriage, but my children have too, or my child has too. And so, whether you have sons or daughters, it's kind of like this, okay, not only do I have to see how I can grow from my relationship, but what can I teach them about growth in their relationships, and often we don't think about it, especially if our kids are younger. We don't necessarily think about, okay, well, what can I take from this that I can teach them to not do or to do differently or whatever. But there's a lot of complexities that goes into our relationships, our successful and unsuccessful relationships that all stem from our childhood or before, those relationships before us, leading up to our birth and then after, that we hold inside of our bodies until we finally realize, like, oh, shit, I got to do something about this.
Yeah, like that epiphany moment when you recognize you repeating the pattern or you doing something that you like saw your parent do or something. And I've had those moments so many
Yeah,
times where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just responded to you, my son, who's 7, respond to him in a way that my mom would have responded. That isn't like how I want to respond.
right, right.
Or, repeating the relationship because I think I've actually thought a lot about this. Like, there's like if you're attracted to a relationship that maybe isn't an unhealthy relationship dynamic, because that's probably like what we saw, right? Like we
Right.
especially if you came from that, like you're much more likely to be drawn to relationships like that because again, this kind of comes back to the nervous system, but that's what feels safe and normalized to you, right? And your nervous system goes, oh, I like that. I like that. And even sometimes if you're in a relationship that feels, if you come from like a chaos environment in your relationship that feels too stable, you're like, wait a second, like this is weird. Like I might need to create some chaos here, or
Yes.
know? So a lot of this still even comes back to the nervous system. But I think one of the things that I've found that really resonated when you were speaking was about how as we're maturing and we're growing and we're learning and we're recognizing and we're doing the work and we're deciding for ourselves, who we want to be and the life that we want to have and like what we want to create, the more we can live in a state of intention and connection versus autopilot,
Mm,
the more likely we are to be that parent, be that partner, be that employee or boss or whatever like title you have or role you have, that is more likely going to be a place that you can access if, and I always come back to the nervous system, but like if you have a regulated nervous system, if you're taking care of that part of your life, you're not, waking up and immediately, grabbing your phone and scrolling social media or checking the news. You're not, immediately getting caught up in like some drama, or you're not, eating sugar all day long. And so your brain is all fuzzy, right? Like, I mean, there's a whole list of things that can put you in a dysregulated state.
Yeah.
But like, the more you live in a dysregulated state, in my experience, the less intentionally you're going to live, and the less likely you're going to be able to show up because you have to actively, like, I don't believe, from my experience, there have been a couple of very rare occasions where I have been through a healing situation where I woke up the next day and made decisions completely differently.
Yeah.
For the most part, like for 90% of the things that I want to heal or correct or like not do anymore, I have to like concerted effort all the time.
Yeah.
Like work on that, and it can be exhausting. And so sometimes I do want to just be like, F it. Like, I don't want to show up as the better version of myself. Like, I just want to be, the whatever, right? Like whoever that person is, that unhealed version of me, like that's easier.
Yes. Yeah.
So it does. It takes a lot of work to not only do the work, but then like actively make decisions that push you more in that direction. It's like, the story of like the wolf, like, are you going to feed which wolf are you going to feed? Right? Like the wolf that is, keeping you in that stagnant place, living in the trauma, living in the unhealed. Are you going to feed the other, the one that's working on being healed and getting to like a better, getting to the place where you feel that you've got more sort of, I don't know. I don't know about control, but you have like a recognizing of that relationship, that part of yourself, I guess I would say. Cause I do think it's a back and a forth. It's not always so like, oh, I just woke up today and I'm exactly the human I want to be, so yeah, it's a journey, I know that's so cliche to say, but it's an ongoing one, I think.
Yeah. I remember the moment where I realized, oh, I react this way because I'm not in control. Like, even when it comes to, like kids, right? Like, I don't like the way you're talking. I don't like the way you're responding. Now I'm upset.
Yeah.
Why am I upset? Because you're a teenager and you said something like smart ass back to me. Okay, don't talk to me like that. Let's have a conversation. Would be a more appropriate response, right? But if I don't realize that I'm being reactive because of certain chaoses I experienced in my life and causing me to constantly need to control everything so that things don't get crazy again, then I'm gonna, if I haven't had that realization, that I'm gonna constantly react to things that even are minor things I'm not controlling in the moment. Like who cares? Like have a conversation with this hormonal teenager about what's appropriate and not when you're talking to a parent, but it doesn't need to be responded with an explosive anger because I don't like the way you're talking to me, kind of thing. Small things like that or big things, but I remember probably about 38 or 39 having that realization like, oh, I'm mad because I can't control the situation right now.
Yeah.
That's really all it's about. Or, of course, bigger situations. But when we are so used to feeling like we have to protect and defend ourselves, our body shows it. Like, we're dysregulated. We are always, like you said, always stressed out, just always reactive is the best way that I can think of to describe it.
It is. Yeah. I think that is what you're not, And it's like, it's so subconscious. It's not even like a real, you're not thinking really
Right, right.
at
Yeah.
all.
I think but that says it perfectly though. Like you're not thinking, you're just reacting, you're just feeling
Yeah.
those safe emotions. And I realized at one point too, I was younger when I realized this, but I realized I was like, oh, anger is my safe emotion. Like
Hmm.
anger is like I got that one. You know, like anger is my easy response. But talking things out and controlling my emotions or controlling my responses and things like that, not always feeling like I have to be in fight or flight. Oh, like, that's not easy, but that's the one I should be doing, you know?
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. It's like that experience is like, sometimes I have to get prepared. I have to prepare myself for when my son comes home from school, because I know that if I try to be like doing work, like I'm on my computer, I'm on my phone, and then he's home in the same space with me, asking me a million questions. And so that's going to dysregulate me. And then if he goes and does something that he knows he's not supposed to do,
Yeah.
the odds of me handling that situation in a reactive like place
Mm.
is, in my opinion, it's like a 10 out of 10. Like the odds are really high.
Yeah, yeah, I feel the same way with my youngest too. I absolutely get it.
And it's hard because we have a lot to do to like ask me as, I am a stay-at-home mom-ish, but I'm also a working mom. So it's like
And
I do take on most of the care, but I also have a business that I'm building, and to not be able to work on it after 2:30 p.m. is really hard. And so I think there's a period where you are suffering. Like we suffer until we wake up and go, I can't suffer anymore. And even just that, right? Like I would put myself through my own suffering of trying to do it all, and
right.
then being not the mom I want to be, and not being fully like connected to what work I'm doing. And so I'm not fully who I want to be in either scenario.
Yeah,
I've had to work past my fear of not working as hard or doing as much in order to be the mom at 2:30, or say to my husband, hey, like I need you to take charge for, this block of time, or signing him up for something after school for a block of time or whatever, right? But like you do have to be, I think, incredibly diligent and like recognize that this whole notion of like being a mom with your kids at home and also like running like a business like from home is like not real. Like it's
right,
not, that's not attainable. Like the
right,
people you see doing it online, like they have nannies and they have house cleaners, and I'm
right.
I'm positive. I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah,
So yeah, like you have to design a life for yourself that supports your nervous system being regulated as much as you can, because there are, even like when you do your best, there's going to be things that come up. Like I filled up
right,
my gas tank. I cleaned my car. So I get in my car and it doesn't, it doesn't overwhelm me visually. And I clean my gas tank, and now I'm driving down the road and someone cuts me off. I did everything that I could to create a calming driving experience. And no matter what I did, someone still did that. Right.
yes, yep,
But I'm more regulated because I'm not trying to race to get to the gas station, or, I gave myself enough appointment time, and I'm not in a car that's like filled with stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like,
right, yeah,
it's a constant work
hmm,
but then when you do it and you get really comfortable with it and you feel less like, um, you start to like feel less emotionally connected to like having to show up and be and do all the things all the time, and you get better at like managing, that
yeah,
you handle things a lot better, and you can
right,
show up that version where you're able to tell your child, don't talk to me like that, let's have a
right,
conversation.
right. Yeah, yeah, and that came. that came after, like, after college, after studying psychology, after like learning about myself, doing a lot of work on myself. It took a while to get to that point to say, okay, don't respond to me that way. Let's have the conversation. Or, like, like, we don't need to get upset. Let's figure it out, because especially when it comes to teenagers, you know,
Yeah.
if you're reactive, they're also reactive naturally. So we're just reacting to each other. And then, like, no conversation is had and no clarity is being had. Okay, let's plan this out, and I have this conversation with my husband sometimes too. Well, let's talk it out. Let's plan it. Let's have a conversation and see what works best instead of just, well, whatever you want to do, or okay, like, okay, let's have a conversation. Let's talk this through and see what works best for both of us, kind of thing. And so I want to briefly kind of touch on that too. Um, Having worthy partners, navigating having worthy partners, because it's really a blessing to have a partner who will have conversations with you, who will learn how to effectively communicate and be patient with you, and know that you've gone through certain things that your body's still healing from. Um, and sometimes we can have those partners come along, and if we're not doing the right work on ourselves, it may not work out. And not because we don't have a supportive partner, but because we're not accepting that supportive partner. There are certain things that my husband has said to me that I might not have necessarily want to hear it, but I needed to. And the way he said it wasn't like, like, just recently. My daughter had a baby. He's about to be 3 months old, and I'm still adjusting, right? I'm adjusting to, first of all, there's a baby in the house. I didn't give birth to it, which is weird because the babies are usually mine.
Yeah.
So, I have this, and I kind of like have this responsibility, I feel,
Mm.
I need to be there for everything. So also, kind of learning like, hey, know when to step back, know when to speak up, know when, these, I was trying to have meetings, recordings, full days with the baby in my arm, newborn baby. And my husband comes to me one day. He's like, hey, I can see you getting burnt out very quickly. He's like, I know that you're trying to do all these things, but maybe think about thinning out your schedule a little bit. And so I changed my schedule to where I don't do these things on the days that I have him, which, you know, and sometimes you can and sometimes you can't rearrange your schedule. But, you know, working on myself, I've learned, okay, I can listen to what my partner has to say. He's not attacking me, even if I don't want to hear it, because, in certain situations, I don't want to be told, like, well, you look like you might be getting overwhelmed. Does that mean that you don't think I can do this? You don't think I can
Right.
be successful? No, that's
Yeah.
not the case at all. The case is that I don't want you to do too much. You don't have to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's not a requirement. You're just doing it because you feel like you have to, but you don't have to. It's kind of like a thing that sometimes I think as mothers too, we have to step back and say, oh, you know what? I don't have to do all the things. And that's okay.
Yeah. I know. And then being like, are you going to do it? No. I know.
That too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then also accepting the version of the help that they can give,
Yeah.
because, that's can be challenging too. I know every time I go on a trip and I come back, my husband doesn't keep the house the way that I would like it to be kept. And I had like a break, like a meltdown, like one time. And I almost like got in my car and drove like away. And actually I think
Yeah.
I did. And I didn't go like too far, but I was so heated because he's like, oh, like I got him, I'll watch him, you know, and I went on my trip. And so helping me out, right? I mean, not kind of, right? Like we're partners. So like
Right.
obviously one of us is gonna go somewhere, someone's
Right.
gonna watch our son. But then I came home and I just was like, I could not believe like and I thought to myself, like, would you just like not clean up after yourselves? Like if I didn't exist? Like I was so like, it was so shocking to me. And then it almost contrasted for me how much I do. I was like, whoa,
Right.
girl, like you be keeping this house clean.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I was only gone for like 3 days. So anyways, so I kind of like, you know, after my meltdown, which wasn't the best, you know, I shouldn't have, I think I did a whole, like, I can't believe this. Like, why, like, you know, it was a whole thing. And anyways,
Yeah.
when I calmed myself down, the next few times when we talked and I just said, look, like, I understand you're trying to like do your things and take care of the kid. So I think I also had to kind of recognize that, like,
Yeah.
he's not used to doing both ish things, you know, like taking care of the home, taking care of the child, doing, and then I'm sure, you know, he's got all of his other stuff that he does, you know, like
Right.
mowing the lawn and, you know, live, whatever, right? Like his man things. But anyway, so, you know, the next few times that I've traveled, I've come back and it hasn't been that bad, but it's never been and probably never will be at the level that like I would do it at, you know, and just
Right.
learning to be okay with the level of like help that that like your partner does give.
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah.
it has been something that like I've had to work on. But to your point, like the delivery is so makes such a difference. Like when, you know, saying like, hey, I'm concerned that you may get burnt out. And instead of being like, you don't look like you can handle, I don't think you can handle. I mean, that's
Right.
such a different, you know, like there's such
Right.
a nice way to say that.
Yeah.
And I think even with our partners, very similar to like my experience with my kid, like if I don't like create space for my nervous system, then like he's the first person that's going to get the wrath of like
That's so
whatever
true.
I'm
Yeah.
going through.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think so we don't speak up about what's bothering us. And I've been practicing that because I'll let like stuff go. I don't say anything. And then I'm like at a point where I'm like, here's my list of grievances versus the few times where I just immediately said, like, I don't like that, or I want it like this, or, you know, nothing about him. I always try to, I learned this tip and this has been really helpful in my relationship, but it's always about what I want, meaning like, instead of being like, you don't do this, being like, I
Right.
want this.
Right.
He's been, my husband has responded like so much more beautifully to that. Like, just, you know, whenever it comes up versus like obviously me getting to like a breaking point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's learning how to navigate the relationships. And we've been together for like 8 years. So even, you know, at this point, we still have to learn how to
Yeah.
care.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, when you're with someone for a long period of time, you have more time to get to know them, but you also know them through different phases in their lives, right? Just like with us, they know us through different phases in our lives. We're not mentally and emotionally the same as we were in our 20s or even our 30s, right? So like the same with them. You can know someone for a long time, but you're also getting to know different versions of them. And the older we get, we still should try to learn the person that each other is now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and hopefully you're growing together and you're evolving together and you're feeling that, that the like communication is getting, I don't want to say if I want to say like better, just more like clear. You can,
Yeah.
because you do start to kind of understand them more on a subtle level too. Like your husband, right? Like he probably was noticing like little subtle hints of you taking on a lot and
Yeah.
being like, hey, like let's like figure out a plan for you, you know? And
Right.
that's so beautiful. I love that, you know, because sometimes like I feel like like men don't notice those things as
Right.
well as
Right.
do. So that's nice. You got a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. And oh, sorry. My dog just farted.
Oh my God.
Like,
Oh, you poor thing. Oh,
oh.
the worst.
And he's like, he needs to be in my office with me. And so,
Oh my gosh.
sorry,
Oh,
that's completely threw me
no,
off.
dude, that would throw me off. You're fine.
Oh my gosh. So I do also want to talk about vibration therapy because, this was really interesting to me. Um, and something I've been looking into getting information about different types of therapies outside of talk therapy. Um, more physical therapies, I guess. So tell me a little bit about vibration therapy, what that is.
Yeah. So vibration therapy, and there's many different ways you can utilize vibration therapy depending on what your goal is. So I think the most common place type of vibration therapy that a lot of us are familiar with are percussion guns or vibration therapy guns. And these are really used for muscle, like releasing muscle tension and circulation. So they're really geared more towards like massaging the muscle of the body. And what's becoming pretty popular now is vibration plates. And these are also like pretty high frequency plates that you stand or sit on, and it just shakes your body. And that helps with, again, with like circulation, but also with lymphatic drainage, which people are really starting to get into, which I absolutely love because lymphatic drainage is one of the best ways of detoxing the body. And when you are just living in the modern world or you're under a lot of stress, your body can start to you could get inflammation. And one of the best ways of helping your body, I mean, there's a number of ways, but one of the ways that you can help your body process inflammation is through lymphatic massage. And so you can use a plate for that or not. There's ways you can just do it manually that I try to do as often as possible. But anyway, so the vibration plates are really more designed for that. And then there's what we've created at Feel Good People that is starting to, I would say it's still a really emerging technology,
Mhm.
but it's whole body vibration and it's very low frequency. So while the percussion guns and the vibration plates are very high frequency, whole body vibration mats, or some people even call them like beds, are much lower frequency. And at a low frequency, you are signaling to the nervous system that you're being soothed. It's a very similar to when somebody gives you like a soothing touch massage. So just taking your fingertips and lightly, caressing the skin is like a soothing touch type massage. And what that does is it activates the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve, spelled VAGUS, not Las Vegas, Vegas, but is really responsible for activating the rest and restore, AKA the parasympathetic part of the nervous system. And so it's an incredibly fast way of turning that on. So if you're feeling stressed or it's built up throughout the day, and you need a real easy, way to help signal your body that it's time to rest, that it's time to relax, it's time to restore, whole body vibration therapy, which is what the Feel Good mat does. That's the mat that we've created, will really help you get there. Can be really, really hard for people to pivot at the end of the day. So going from doing all the things, taking care of business, to then, and now it's time for me to relax. And you
Right.
have to do it if you want to sleep well, you want to heal your body from inflammation and disease, and keep a strong immune system. There are so many reasons why we need to be living more in the rest and restore parasympathetic state than the fight or flight state. And, so vibration therapy is a really great way to get you there. And our product, it does vibration therapy, but it also pairs with sound therapy. And so how a lot of our customers will use it is, let's say, it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, it's the end of your day. You're not quite ready to completely shut off. Like, let's say you want to watch your show, or you want to keep scrolling your phone, or you've got a couple emails to respond to, whatever. You just roll the mat out and you do the vibration part of it, so you can still be reading a book or interacting.
Gotcha.
Once you've kind of shaken some of that, that layer of stress off, and now you're kind of in a more chill, more relaxed state, you can actually pair it with sound therapy. And sound therapy, so we have different sound experiences inside the app that pair with the different vibration patterns. And so sound therapy is much more of like a meditative state. Like, you want to go into a very, very deep relaxation. The sound will get you there. And so it's kind of like two products or two experiences in one. But yeah, I just really love them for the vibration, for just helping my body kind of manage that transition at the end of the day. And then also the sound when I'm like really wanting to do a deep interconnective work, or I really need to do some meditation. That's when I'll typically do both of them together.
That's really interesting. And honestly, it's not something that I've heard of before. It's That's really cool.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I really, you and I have so many similarities, not just in like our past, but also in how we live today, where, like, we really are trying to do it all. Like, we've got families, and we've got relationships, and we've got responsibilities, but we also have dreams and desires and places we want to go and things we want to do. And, I believe in order to do that, a lot of us need tools to help us manage through that, right? And support that experience for us, because if you're constantly just living in a state of go, 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 do, and you don't like take care of the self, like your inner world, like, you can't, I don't believe, like, it's really, really hard to actually progress and move forward in the direction that like you really want to go. And I think that's a lot of the times when life happens to you and you're not living life the way you want. You're just managing stuff that's constantly coming in. And so you have to get like very, very diligent and proactive and prioritize like that regulation bubble. I don't know what else to call it. I'm just like, you have to like build a life for yourself where, you take the time to do the things that you need to do in order to, get where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Before we wrap up here, tell us a little bit more about Feel Good People. What do you offer, and what is your goal?
Yeah. Well, when I created so I had the idea for the Feel Good map because I was utilizing vibration and sound therapies in separate ways. And so I wanted to create one experience for people. So I created the mat, and it pairs with an app. And so the app powers all the different vibration patterns, and then there's sound experiences inside. So the Feel Good mat is our main product. I want to eventually come out with other tools that help people tap into a rest and restore state. So that's like really the focus of Feel Good People from a development perspective, like a product development perspective. But really, beyond just that, we really want to help people understand like how important nervous system regulation is, how important stress management is, and just know that like there are options out there to like not live life in such a reactive, chaotic state.
Right.
Um, and that it is possible to like get over that fear of like having to constantly be busy and constantly having to be productive, because I really do believe it's a fear. I mean, it definitely is for me anyways, of like falling behind or not doing enough or not achieving my, it's like this
Yeah.
thing. And it's great to have goals and it's great to have dreams and it's great to like work and pursue them. But like you have to be well. And
Right.
so, you
Right.
know, and I think, medication there have been points in my life where like I've had to get on medication to help with anxiety or depression or things like that. And I'm for all for like doing what you have to do. But there are a lot of we do really focus on natural ways too, right? Like you don't have to um compromise on like the quality of what you're putting in and on your body. Like those things are, we talk a lot within Feel Good People's community about low tox living, and in the sense that like, you have this thing called a toxic load. So there's only like so much that your body, so much stress, and especially as women with our, fluctuating hormones,
Right.
there's so much stress that like your body can take before it starts to just, quite honestly, like get sick or just feel terrible. And so, you can, if you can audit your life in such a way where you're eating as clean as you can, you're drinking, as clean as you can, you're surrounding your environment as clean as you can, you're, your phone, your digital, life is as reduced as you can, you will start to feel better because these things add
Yes.
up,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And so we really try to help people understand like what are the types of like materials that you should be like surrounding yourself with, and like what are the types of products out there that we think are really clean and not going to like mess up your, your nervous system. So we talk a lot about that as well.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just tell people, if you follow us, feel good underscore people on Instagram or TikTok. And also if you go to our website, feelgoodpeople.com, we have a newsletter that we send out weekly with different, ideas or product recommendations that are all in this same vein. And then also if you want to connect with me, I'm on Instagram, Kristan underscore feels good, or maybe it's Kristan dot feels good. I think it's Kristan dot feels good. All the like, when you create a new profile, like you can't get anything that's
Right.
like thing. It has to have a dot or an underscore in it. So anyways, but I also try to share like what things I'm using to help reduce the toxic load in my life. So yeah, so if people are interested in learning more, then those would be the places to go.
But that's really cool too, because, oftentimes we put things out and they're just kind of like out, we don't really follow up or show people why they should care about what you're doing or, like why what you're doing is valid. And so I think staying connected to people like that and giving them insights into your life. Well, okay, outside of this product that I put out, what am I doing to also improve my life outside of this one thing? I think that's really important too. So I kudos on that.
Well, I just think about like what would I find helpful from someone, and it's not going to be like yeah, their product, but that's just like my like the feel good mat is just something that works for me and our customers, and
Right.
maybe it could work for you, but I would never say to somebody like, "Oh, this is it," because it's not. Like
Right.
it's a holistic approach. Like,
Absolutely.
so it's like, and it's listening to these podcasts. Like that's the other thing that I find incredibly helpful in bringing me back and reminding me of like, hey, like these are the decisions that you want to be making, and this is the life that you're trying to build. It's podcasts like this, like yours, where we're having these conversations and you're being reminded. I think it's like one of the reasons I don't go to church, but I think I used to go when I was a kid, but like one of the best things about going to church or going or listening to something that it's inspiring, right? Like you go here and you get that message and it's like, hey, be loving, be kind to your neighbor. Like if that's the message, right? And then you walk out of there and at least for like a couple days, I would hope you're maybe a little bit nicer and you're a little bit more, right? And I think podcasts that are like this do the exact same thing, or subscribing to our newsletter hopefully does the exact same thing, where it's just a little thing to kind of remind you of like, hey, like your nervous system, your well-being, your life is important. And like, just keep that in mind,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is the perfect way to wrap that up. And I was going to ask you to tell people where they can find you, but you've already done that. So, but yeah, I think that's the perfect way to kind of wrap that up, because it really is a holistic. You have to have a holistic approach if you want to change your life, right? Like we know that everything is interconnected. And so the way we approach many different aspects of our lives controls our overall view of our life and how we treat ourselves and how we treat other people and things like that. So I think that's an absolutely perfect point.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation and hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thank you for being here and fitting me in so quickly to your schedule. I appreciate that. All right. See you next time.
Thank you for spending this time with us on Just the Who of Us. We hope today's conversation offered reflection, comfort, or a moment of clarity. If this episode resonated with you, feel free to share it with someone who may need it. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember, you're not alone in the journey.